Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now. Hello and welcome to a new episode of Velocity Kinetics. This is just a short vlog, just reviewing the close of the 2014 season. 2015 even, sorry, I hope I got it right. Just a quick close for the end of the 2015 season. It's been far from vintage. Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton's ego, so on and so forth. So I say it's not been one for the history books, not been one to go with fine vintage seasons like 2009, for example. That's a personal favourite of mine. Last year's was not vintage, but certainly a lot more memorable. 2010 where Alonso was it 11 or 12? There a couple of seasons where Alonso was still in the fight right at the end, even though Vettel was dominating things, etc. It was all good, all interesting. It's tough though to call this one a vintage. So let's just have a quick rundown through the teams. Mercedes. Every year there's going to be one team that gets it right, or every rule change there's going to be one team that gets it right, and I can't. As much as I don't like Mercedes that much in this, it's maybe wrong to say I don't like Mercedes. I just find them hard to tolerate. I'd like them more. I'd tolerate them more if they were challenged a little more. If that makes sense. But on the whole, that said, they built the best car. They used it to advantage. It's the best car on the grid with two of the best drivers on the grid. You don't win as many races as Rosberg without having some measure of talent. So they've got two very good drivers in there, and the best car, it's going to win. There's no two ways around that. As much as you may try and think and squabble and just generally try and throw a hissy fit over it. So yeah, they've had it all their own way. I can't say I'm happy about that, because that's just me, but hopefully they can hopefully they're challenged more next year. So I had a complete brain freeze for a second. Next team, I'm sorry, I just had a complete brain freeze on all the teams in Formula 1. I can more or less do it off the top of my head, but I just want to make sure I get it right. Excuse me. Then we move on to Red Bull. Again, it was not a good season for them, although for me it's good to have to see them fight and work for things again, because I personally think with how much they were dominating, they were getting a bit how Mercedes are when they don't win and don't dominate, they begin to get a bit stroppy and hissy and pissy about it all, really. So it's good to see them actually fighting for the points that they've got. Their spat with Renault is silly. Now, yes, Renault have not got it right with the engine this year. Well, since it went turbo based, they've not got it right. It's been down on power, down on everything really. Chassis probably not been helped by a slight change to the rules. They've had a good drive lined up with Ricciardo and Kvyat. Can't complain too much about how well those guys have done. Their spat of Renault was silly. Renault have got an exceptionally valid point that when Red Bull were winning, it was just Red Bull. They won as Red Bull, but lost as Red Bull Renault. It's probably the best way I'd put it. Rumours are that they'll be coming with a Nissan branded engine next year, or Nissan, depending how you like to pronounce it, or an Infinity branded engine. Although I think they're losing the Infinity sponsorship off the top of my head. It would have been interesting seeing them run a Honda engine, because I'm not sure how big Red Bull is in Japan, but it might have boosted their profile in Japan if they were linked with Honda. But can't say too much on it. Well, I will say if they come back with a Nissan or Nissan branded engine, even though it was Renault built, or it might even come back as Mechachrome. But if what the most recent rumor I heard was it's going to come back, but it's going to be Renault built, Nissan branded. It might encourage Toyota or another engine manufacturer into the sport, which could be a good thing. Up next, Williams, my personal favourite team. They are my favourite team. I love them to bits, but God, have they dropped the ball again this year a little bit. What I mean, last year they were so close to winning a few times if they'd just been a little more ruthless. Last year I understand that it was a recovery year after the FW35, so they just had to take what they took what they could get. But rather than risk losing points losing points, they took all the points that they could maximise. Maybe what I think is slightly wrong. Perhaps the best way to rephrase it is they didn't make the gains I thought they would. Ferrari filled in the gap. It used to be Williams, Mercedes, and then third used to vary between Ferrari and Red Bull, mostly. But pretty much it was Williams was second. And this year they weren't as much as I was hoping them to be. Now, brilliant that they've secured third in the constructors for a second year in a row. That'll be fantastic income boost and if you're a shareholder of the Williams team, it's probably done your share price a lot of favours. Sell some to me, please. I wouldn't mind some shares in the team, but it's not been the best of years. I wanted them to be on the podium more than they were. I wanted them to have come close to winning a race, but that said, I forgive them all those sins, as annoying as little niggles of annoyance they may be. I forgive all their sins because of the lightning start they made at Silverstone. Just proved that to Mercedes that it's not all their way, and I love that. It's good that they're keeping the same driver lineup, because I think that's really helping them as well. Next up, the Scuderia Ferrari. I've never been much of a Ferrari fan, to be honest, either as a team or on the road in their road cars. I've never been too much of a fan of them, but I will say I'm excuse me, I'm much happier with how they've been doing. Vettel seems to have injected some life back into the team. Raikkonen, he's just Raikkonen, isn't he? They made some fantastic gains. The drive Vettel put in Abu Dhabi was fantastic. I would probably put that as the drive of his career, to be honest. Actually, not necessarily the drive of his career. I think. Actually, no, I would put it up there as the drive of his career. I would put that above the his win with Toro Rosso. They capitalised. There's a lot of wind blowing outside. If you can hear that whistle, I do apologise. I've just realised how bad it sounds. But yes, they did very well. They capitalised fantastically over the winter. Well-designed car, built by, I think it was designed by James Allison. So who knows what they can do next year? Maybe they'll be fighting with Mercedes. If they can make the same amount of gains over the winter, this winter, as they made last year. So assuming all the teams make the same gains that they did, Ferrari should be in front of Mercedes, or at least bothering them so much. Let's say I don't mind if one team wins all the time. So I don't mind if Williams are winning. I'd love if Williams were winning all the time, but I don't mind if Ferrari winning all the time. I don't mind if McLaren are winning all the time. Don't mind if Mercedes are winning all the time. So long as they've had to work for it is basically my point. On to McLaren. McHonda. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. How are the mighty fallen? It's been a joke. The positions that car has finished in when it's been able to finish. I was thinking about this the other day. I don't know whether other people have had similar thoughts, and if they have or haven't, I don't give two tosses. The positions that Jensen and Alonso got that pig-awful McLaren to finish in, imagine how much further down the order it would have been if they didn't have Jensen and Alonso dragging that thing around. they need Jensen and Alonso to develop the car, give it some direction. Likewise, Honda need Jensen and Alonso because it's two fantastic people to work with for the brand, but they know what they need to do to develop. Jensen's worked with Honda before, so he knows their way of working, which I think is why he can. I think this is why he's been a little less vocal about the way Honda have been going about things. I have no doubts if he could speak his heart, he would be monumentally annoyed, and there'd be a lot of cursing and things in there. But maybe, well, maybe not. It depends on what sort of mood you catch him in, I guess. But for the most part, the chassis's been fine, really. It's just the engine that's letting down. Honda can hope if Honda can get the compressor to work, because Russ shared a link to me on Facebook and on email as well, where Honda I didn't know they were doing this. I knew Honda had split the turbo and the compressor and everything up, but I didn't know Honda were trying to get the compressor and things to fit in the V of the engine, which then means it's obviously going to be smaller than a conventional compressor and things. So when it's spinning, it's got to spin that much faster. And so it's got, rather than, I think, what was the numbers it said? I'm sure it was something like, for it to work properly and at the right power output, it's got to be doing something like 120,000 RPM. But it'll just melt and disintegrate in a few minutes. Whereas a traditional compressor only needs to spin 70, 80,000 RPM. If I remember the numbers correctly, I'll have to, if I can find it, I'll link it on the bottom of the video. But that was a few months ago, so who knows if I can find it. I think it was on f1technical.net. It's where he gets a lot of his tech things he sends me, or anything was done by Scarbs. But anyway, McLaren, if McLaren can produce another good chassis like they did this year, it's not the best out there, but pretty strong. And if Honda can up the game massively, then McLaren can be on for some podiums. I think that's all they should set their sights on. I think they should set their sights on third, a couple of third place finishes, and regularly in the points next year. That's about all they can expect. Next team, Force India. Not a bad looking car this year. A few podiums, more success than I thought they were going to be, actually. Not to say that I thought that they were going to do badly. I just didn't think they were going to do as well as they have. They got two good drivers in the form of Perez and Hulkenberg. I do get worried though that Hulkenberg, he is a top class driver, because you don't win Le Mans, regardless of the team you're with, whether it's Porsche, Audi, Ferrari, McLaren, Lamborghini. Actually, I don't think Lamborghini have got any history of Le Mans, have they? I don't remember. Anyway, Mazda. I know Mazda had one car at Le Mans, and Nissan. Ford as well. But whatever. You don't have a driver like... my concern is Hulkenberg, with all his immense skill. He's either going to go off to WEC, which he'll probably have a lot of success there, considering how well he's done with Porsche. I'm sure Porsche would sign him in a heartbeat. But I'm worried he's going to be stuck in the midfield trap. He's not going to get a chance to be in a race-winning Mercedes, to be in a race-winning Williams, to be in a race-winning Red Bull. I don't think he's going to get the chance, and I'm really worried about that. I think he's got it. Some of his qualifying performances, maybe he's a bit like Jensen Button, and the fact he's quick, reliable, consistent, can't always switch it on over one lap though. That might be the long and short of it. But good job by Force India all round. Maybe they can capitalise and get even more points next year. Who knows? I think they're overdue a race win. I don't think they're going to produce a championship winning car at all. But I think they're long overdue a race win, and hopefully that might come to the next year. But I prefer it to come on merit, not necessarily through people crashing out. But who knows? We'll see. Next team, Toro Rosso. Switched to Renault power this year. What a job that they managed to do. Even with the disadvantage of the Renault power, they'd made such a good chassis that it embarrassed their Red Bull counterparts. They weren't beating Red Bull out and out each race, but a Toro Rosso should normally not be fighting it out with a Red Bull. Should normally be fighting it out with a Force India or a Sauber. But you can't if they've done a good job on a fraction of the budget, then good job. I'm still not sure Verstappen was the right signing. Credit where it's due, he's done a fantastic job, and I cannot fault the job he's done. I'm not comfortable with the age thing. I'm not comfortable that he's not quite put in the same time in all the other formulas that everyone else has done. But then, if he's going to go on to be a true great, maybe that is what makes him great, that he didn't spend the time in those other formulas, just came straight into F1, team, winner. Maybe, who knows. Carlos Sainz, he also did a fantastic job. He's just been massively overlooked because of how good a job young Max has done. If Toro Rosso can continue this development on, wouldn't rule them out for a fight for a podium, but they're switching to Ferrari power next year, not Renault, in the whole fallout between Red Bull, etc. I'm surprised. I know you got Red Bull Racing and Scuderia Toro Rosso, which is Team Red Bull, the two Red Bull teams on the grid. I always misunderstood the Renault spat. I always thought it was just a Red Bull, not Toro Rosso, because I thought Toro Rosso were just going to keep with the Renault and that was it. But it looks like they're going to go back. They're going back to Ferrari power next year, which, well, they had Ferrari power for a lot of years. So in actual fact, it's just been a 1 year blip with no Ferrari power. Although hopefully they don't sink back down with going back to Ferrari power over Renault power. Next team, Lotus. I'm not sure what to think, to be honest. The car is virtually the same as it rolled out at the end of the season. It's virtually the same as it rolled out at the start of the season. It's had very few upgrades to it. Now, considering it still managed to score a podium at Spa with Grosjean, with next to no upgrades on it, it obviously was a pretty good car underneath. Pastor Maldonado has not done his reputation many favours, again with the number of crashes he's had. He was nice and quiet for the rest of the season, for a fair bit at the end of the season. But I always defended Pastor where I could when he was in Williams. He's got a lot of Venezuelan expectation on his shoulders because of the PDVSA sponsor money. PDVSA is a state-owned oil company in Venezuela, and as far as I'm aware, they're still on a very left-wing government, so the wealth of that company is being redistributed amongst the population, sort of slightly communist principles, but it's Bolivarian principles. But either way, excuse me. Either way, though, he's got a lot of expectation on his shoulders. I think he'll be another race winner. He'll win another race like he did for Williams in the 34. But he's got to calm down. He's still a little too excitable. He's still a little bit too headstrong. Now I appreciate that's probably just Pastor, but he's got to change. He's got to buck his ideas up. Grosjean, a good season by him as far as I'm concerned. Managed to drag the car around to third. Granted, it was taking advantage of Vettel having a puncture, but even so, to still be closing in on Vettel at the rate of knots he was, even if he finished fourth, that would still been a fantastic achievement, given the dominance of the Mercedes. Where Lotus stand next year, it doesn't. There are a couple of things. They may not be called Lotus. They may not even be on the grid. Renault are supposed to be buying Lotus. Whether it's going to come back as Lotus Renault, or Mechachrome Renault, Lotus Mechachrome, whatever it's going to come back as, it's not clear. I hope they do come back, because all those people at Enstone, they got rent, they got mortgages, council tax, families, they've got a lot of things riding on this. At least as far as I'm aware, they've been being paid, which is something that Caterham and the tosspot Tony Fernandez did not manage. I hope they're on the grid. I hope Lotus on the grid next season, regardless of what manufacturer brand they've got. I just want that team to go on there because they're so funny, they're so light-hearted and everything. Next team, Oh, cool, excuse me. Flemmy. That's not the team. The team is not Flemmy. The team is Mana, Marussia. Considering the car was virtually the same as what they had last year, it's been okay. No points, which the increased reliability, I didn't really expect any points, and good job by Bianchi last year. Forza Jules, ciao Bianchi. The team is switching to Mercedes power next year. Whether that's a good or a bad move remains to be seen. And then you've got their driver lineup, which is in doubt. I can't say much on that team really because they've just been very quiet. They're Graham Loudon, I think is his name. Their team principal is stepping down. New team principal's coming in. It'd be nice if they could make some progress up the grid, but I personally think they need some of these back teams need to have the testing rules changed so they can actually be allowed to go testing. If that makes sense. But I can't fault Mana for fighting through the whole year. Appreciate they were propping up the grid quite frequently, but they did what they did what they could with the resources they got, and you can't fault them for trying. And the last team, Sauber. Oh, good. What a year they had last year, and then this year. They used to be a good midfield team. The last few seasons, they dropped the ball quite spectacularly, really. Never a team for a race win. I think technically Sauber, not BMW Sauber, because that was a slightly different configuration. Going under the name Sauber, they're not had a race win now. Yes, they are well and truly long overdue one. The car design this year has been a bit, as in the paint job, I've not liked, but that's not really. It could be painted pink with lime green spots, as long as it races and wins. No one's really going to give two tosses about the paint job. They had Ericsson and Nasser as drivers this year. You can't. There've been maybe a few more incidents than they'd have liked. Not as many points as they could have gotten. Hopefully they can pick back up a few places and get back to fighting in the midfield. Maybe their problem is that the midfield has closed up that much that where they used to be a strong midfield to upper midfield team, they just can't compete midfield anymore. But hopefully they can claw back a few points and claw up a few places next year. Now on to next year. As far as I'm aware, no major rule changes. Aero and things are still the same. Engines are still the same. Big new thing for next year is Haas, the Formula One team, new Formula One team. The BBC did a fantastic piece about Haas, Gene Haas, the guy with the NASCAR teams. His method of going about things. There are a lot of things that they've got to build, but he's buying a lot of things from Ferrari. He's in the piece he did with the BBC. He talked to teams, so he talked to Mercedes and things, but Ferrari were offering them more for less. Now there's been a whole scandal where Ferrari were allegedly getting extra help and data because of Haas testing in their wind tunnel. I don't care, to be honest. Haas is doing everything they can to get up there. Maybe they won't go through the same growing phase as other new teams because they're not coming in having to build everything from scratch. But that said, it's no different. It's technically possible, highly unlikely, but it's technically possible for a new team to come in, get the design bang on, and win. It's technically possible because Tyrrell did it with the T001. So Jackie Stewart's Tyrrell. It's technically possible. Hopefully Haas do well. I think they're going to be midfield from the get-go. If they're behind Mana, if they're fighting with Mana in the first couple of races, that's understandable. I think they'll be fighting with Toro Rosso quite frequently, assuming, actually no, Toro Rosso, maybe a bit high, going up a bit higher. I think they're going to be somewhere between 12th and 15th on average throughout the season. I think they'll scrape a few points. I think they will. If they get 10 points in their first season, they just need to be aiming for one of the cars to get into the point to get 10th place each race, and that'll be a solid first season. So it's about all we've got for the 2015 season. Looking forward to seeing new cars roll out. I hope Honda can make some improvements because they're a good engineering company. I hope Williams can pull forwards and try and become the second team, if not the team in Formula One. I can't say as to the likelihood of that, but it'd be nice. It'd certainly be nice if there was a decent top 3 fight again. So I don't. If Mercedes win again all year, I'll have to learn to live with it. What I don't want is them just to walk it. Because to me, I've never been a massive Lewis Hamilton fan, I'll be honest. Even when he first came on the scene, I was not. I liked him because he was the only English driver doing well. I always liked Jenson Button more. Always have done, always will. Unless Jenson does something fantastically stupid, if he comes to my door and punches me in the face, I'm always going to like Jenson. Even then, I'd probably still like Jenson. I got punched in the face by Jenson Button, woo, sort of thing. But I'm not keen on the way Lewis Hamilton conducts himself. What he does away from the track is his business. I don't like the way I don't like the way he conducts himself. I don't like the way he presents himself at the race weekends, and the way when things haven't gone his way, how petulant and sulky he gets, winds me up because he goes on. He might always make subtle references to the fact he grew up in a council estate, parents split, etc. I don't give two shits, sunshine. The fact is, you had the opportunity to go do that. Granted, there were opportunities that your dad worked his backside off for, but nonetheless, he's had the opportunities. He's had the opportunity to race with McLaren, to actually debut with McLaren, a race-winning McLaren, and then to go to Mercedes and dominate there pretty much. There's not a lot else that can be said about that. He has no idea how many people would give just about everything they own to be in his position for one race. Not the whole weekend, not for a free practice session, not for qualifying, just for one race. I know I'd give just about everything I've got to be in that position for one race. But yeah, hopefully he calms down a bit. As much as it's fantastic for Britain to have its first triple champion since Jackie Stewart, and the first British driver to successfully defend his title and to be back-to-back champion. I think it's back-to-back, isn't it? Far and away is the first British driver to do back-to-back. Yes, he is the first British driver to do back-to-back. He's the first British driver to defend his title. As much as it's fantastic for England to sort of have a race-winning driver and be building all these brilliant Formula One teams, I wouldn't mind seeing a brand new champion. So I would love Jenson Button to be champion again. Alonso deserves another championship, as does Raikkonen, I think. But I'd love to see Massa or Bottas to win a championship. I'm just trying to think. Or Rosberg, because a lot of people accuse him of moaning, but he does have a race-winning car, and a lot of attention goes on Lewis Hamilton. I think Rosberg just has to shout a hell of a lot louder. He either has to be really negative or shout a hell of a lot louder to get the same attention Lewis Hamilton does. Oh, there we are. So that's pretty much the end of our wrap up for 2015, the 2015 Formula One season. Hopefully 2016 is a more vintage year, or a better year if it's not a vintage one. Like I say, as long as Mercedes don't walk it, I'm happy. So take care of yourselves over the Christmas period. Remember, don't drink and drive over Christmas. Don't care what emergencies you've got. Just think before you drive. Think car. Think bike. Think pedestrian. Just be careful. And even if you're desperate to get home for Christmas because you want to see your family, don't take any unnecessary risks, particularly if the weather's bad. because, let me put it simply, because you want to get home, you ignore the fact that everyone else wants to get home, which is not fair. Everyone else wants to go. Everyone else wants to get home as well. So let's say, take care of yourselves, and check out Road Race Parts for top quality racing parts and vehicles. And also for first aid training, check out premiernorth.co.uk. We're up and running as best we can now. So submit your requests for first aid training through to ourselves, and we'll be in contact with you to get you qualified so you can start saving lives. But have a good Christmas, and we'll see you at some point next year. Velocity Kinetics has been made in association with Road Race Parts. Top quality, best prices, no compromise. Head to roadraceparts.com to get parts for your racing vehicles now.